Hello, everybody. Welcome back. How's everybody doing? More people coming in. How is everybody? How was week 1, 2 of school?
Good. Went pretty well.
Good. Good to hear. Everybody's getting in the swing of things, which is exciting. Cool.
I have to be on my phone for the class. Is that okay? For
Yeah,
the
sure.
Zoom?
Yeah.
Because the program only runs if it's the only thing running on my laptop.
Yeah, I know. All these powerful programs take up a lot of juice.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. So how's everybody feeling about Pro Tools? How was your first experience recording? Everybody did great. Like it was best class so far. I'm very impressed by everybody's getting things up and running and recorded and formatted right. You guys did a great job. Does anybody have any questions so far about what we went over?
I have a question, Professor. Just the way I had sent things on Google Classroom, I had sent you a link to the folder. Is that okay with all the files?
I was able to download it, so that was
Okay, everything. I just wanted to double check because I didn't send I sent the folder, but it was a link that brought you to all the files. I just wanted to make sure I send that correctly. That's all.
Yeah, I think you did. No problem, Mike. All right, cool. Well, let's get started then. So the first part of this class, we're going to just be reviewing a little more Pro Tools, getting a little more in depth of what we talked about last week. And then we're going to get into songwriting because this is not a songwriting class, but you are going to be writing a lot of music for it, which is exciting. And for your homework next week or coming up, you're going to be writing your first piece. So I'm going to dive into how we're going to do that, which is an exciting challenge. Okay, so week 2. So this is what you should know how to do. And if you do not know how to do this, let me know. So the dashboard, proper naming, everybody did a great job naming their projects. Storing files, everybody sent me their files, so I assume you know where you stored it. What do we pick, a WAV or an AIFF when we are creating our projects?
WAV file?
Exactly. And our sample rate is 44.1 and 24-bit. Who can tell me what interleave means?
It means when you save it, it saves all the tracks together rather than individually, right?
Yes. So rather than doing left speaker and right speaker or left and right, it saves into one file, which is a lot easier when you bounce it. Unless you purposely want it to be 2 separate files, it's good to have it as one. And set location to all your projects. Now, the difference between a session file and a session folder. Half of you got it and half of you are still working on it. If everybody goes to their email and downloads the file that I sent you about 20 minutes ago and opens that up and somebody tell me what you see.
Is it our CUNY emails or the ones connected to the Google Classroom?
It's the ones connected to the Google Classroom.
Okay, thank you.
From what I saw in that file, it seemed incomplete, but also the audio quality, I noticed right away. It just, nothing came out clear when trying to play back.
Yes. So does everybody have it open? Let me know when you have it open.
I can open it.
You cannot open the PGX file?
Yeah, it says, hold on, let me reopen it.
It probably has a pop-up menu saying something is not linking when you originally open it.
You might have to download the file first because there was no preview on the email, but once I downloaded it, it was able to load.
Thank you, Syed.
Yeah, I downloaded it. It says the current playback engine does not support a sample rate of 44.1 kilohertz.
Oh,
And then, yeah, they click OK and it immediately closes.
all right. Well, for the purpose of our demonstration, does Syed, can you share your screen and show what you're seeing on your screen?
Yes, 1 second. Okay, are you able to see it?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what I have. And then I just had to, ooh, where is it?
That
Yeah, I
is,
just have to drag it to that side and then hopefully the audio plays back.
oh, well, that is not, you should have something else. So,
And it actually played normal that time. That was really weird. But when I first opened the file, it was very distorted. But yeah, when I click on this, this is the file that I downloaded.
okay. So stop sharing your screen because my demonstration did not work. I was trying to show you if I just send you the PTX file, you are not going to get the audio file. It will be missing. So this right here will be in like a bluish color. And that is because I sent you guys just the PTX folder, which does not include audio files. It wouldn't include this. It does not include bounce files, clip files, video files. So if you send me just this, MIDI I will still get, but when we get into audio, all your audio is going to be missing if you just send me the PTX file. Does that make sense to everybody? So I want everybody to send me this file, this folder. And if you're having trouble uploading it to the Google Classroom, you can compress it by right-clicking on it and going down to compress, and it'll zip the file. Any questions on folder versus file? Okay, cool. MIDI lives within the PTX file, but audio does not. So when we get into audio, it's going to be really important that you guys send me the folder. So I just want you guys all to start practicing that. No problem, Kimberly. Okay. Back to what we should know. So we're going to be going over the 3 windows more. Did everybody use the AZ Focus TNR to zoom in and zoom out? Cool. And we were in grid mode. A lot of you did that. Smart tools, encounter bars. And then we all created our MIDI tracks. Did everybody know how to change the color and the name of the MIDI tracks? Show that to you.
Oh, no.
All right, good. I don't think I went over it last week. So there's 2 ways to name your track. When you create a track, you can go to track new or shift command N, and you can name your track right here. That's an easy way to do it. So I can name my track piano there. I can also rename it by double clicking on the track name over here and just changing it to piano there. If I want to change the color, you can see things are color coded over here. I will just double click on that and pick a different color or any color I want. It's good to, if you have a bunch of string instruments, to have them all be one color. If you have a bunch of wind instruments, have them all be one color. That way, when you're looking at your session, you kind of have a bird's eye view of what's going on. And especially when you're mixing, it's really helpful. Does that make sense? And I like to, every session I have, I make sure my bases are all orange or whatever color you pick, just consistently do it. So it's another way for you to just have a quick understanding of what you have going on. All right. Moving right along. So we changed track name and color, added virtual instrument, record enable, record MIDI, and playback engine. Did anybody have trouble with the playback engine? Does everybody know where that is, where that lives? Why we need to know where it lives? Okay, cool. I have to say, you guys are so impressive. Like, everybody just did a really, really good job this semester so far. And I'm very excited. You guys are all on the ball. Okay, so we're gonna just review Pro Tools, the edit window, then we're gonna move on to the mix window and the transport window. Those are the 3 windows in Pro Tools that you're gonna need to know. And you're gonna get really good at them. And so let's dive right in. Okay, so we went over this last week, slip and grid mode. Can somebody tell me the difference between the two?
In grid mode, it's like aligned to like the actual bar that you set it to, versus slip. It doesn't have to it's not like aligned to any one moment.
Yeah, and Jorge, why do you think that, why would you go into grid versus slip, you think?
Well, if you're working with MIDI and you want everything to be aligned to like the metronome or the click, that way you have everything kind of like coming in where you want it to. Or slip might be useful if you're like working with audio, and like maybe something didn't start exactly at that bar and you're choosing to like maybe align it that way.
That's a perfect answer. That was great. And also sometimes in MIDI, like if you have a violin program or a violin virtual instrument going, when the note hits is not necessarily when you want to hear the sound. So you can just tweak it a little bit. If you're in slip mode, you can move it just like a hair to the left or a hair to the right to make it sound a little more realistic, if that makes sense. But for our purposes, we want to stay in grid mode because we, at this point, want everything to be quantized and sounding tight. Jaden, you have a question.
Yeah, do we make a new project or do we just use the homework project that we sent to you?
You, for right now, when we're reviewing everything, just opened up your previous project. But
Okay.
at the end of this class, we're gonna start writing a song and then you'll be creating a whole new project. Good question. All right, so grid versus slip. Shuffle mode, just so you know, is if I highlight a section and say I want to delete this section, I can, okay, delete like these 3 notes or that section. I can go like that and it shifts everything over. Versus if I was in grid mode and I wanted to delete that part, it wouldn't shift this part over. It would leave again. So you're not really going to be using shuffle mode. It's easy to get lost in shuffle mode. All right, so this is, I created an audio file down here, just for demonstration purposes. And this button right here either makes the audio file, it's called the waveform, look really large or really small. You can go like that or like that. Our magnifying glass right here will help me zoom in. Does anybody remember the quick key for zooming in and zooming out on AZ Focus?
Is that the TNR?
Exactly. So if I hit the R button, it will zoom back out. Then we have our smart tools right here. The trim mode brings our track in and out in either direction. The selector mode selects a certain part of your track. If I'm in grid, it will select the denomination that I have. If I'm in slip, I can select within the grid. It doesn't have to necessarily snap to it. And then the grabber tool will allow me to move my track left and right. And then if I go with the smart tool, the bracket above it, I can use all the tools depending on where my cursor is. So if it's at the top of the track, I will select it like this. If it's at the bottom, I will grab it left and right. And if it's at the end of the track, I can go into trim mode. Any questions on the smart tool?
Professor, just one of our classmates emailed. I think they might be in the waiting room.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Yes. Javier, sorry for the delay. Thank you, Jorge. All right, so that's the smart tool. Now this little megaphone right here, this allows you to kind of audition your track in whatever time you want. So if I drag it really fast, I can go back and forth like that.
Can we do a little recap? Sorry, I just had the link. I didn't receive any links for the class. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. It's the same link every week.
Ah, it's the same link.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, I thought it was every. Okay. Sorry.
No.
What are we doing?
We're just reviewing Pro Tools. So open your session.
Okay.
Your homework session is fine. And then we just went over slip and grid and then the smart tools again. And I'm recording everything so you can go back and watch the first 10 minutes. All right, now we're in pencil mode. This is a fun mode. So in pencil mode, I can, if I'm in MIDI, I can draw in notes. If I'm in grid mode, it'll draw it to, oh, I'm in slip mode. If I'm in grid mode, it will fill in the grid. It will make it the length of the grid. If I'm in slip mode, I have a little more control and I can do like a little shorter notes. The other cool thing about the pencil tool is I can play with the volume and kind of do what's called automation with it. So say I'm here and I switch down to volume and I have my volume line right here. If I want to play with the volume and make the notes go loud and soft and loud and soft, I can draw in the volume. And right now, there's different modes you can go in. So if I hold down the control key, I can do freehand, which I can draw in like this. Then you will hear what it sounds like. I can also, if I hold down the control key, it gives me the drop-down menu. I should. I can do it in line. So if I want to do just like a fade up, I can go like that. I can also do triangles, which will give it a really wonky sound, and go like that. You can hear it now. And then there is the mouse is a little slow. Then there's square, and then there's random. Random would be, it kind of just picks for you. So if you want to, if everybody wants to just play around with the pencils for a couple minutes, pick your, you can do it with MIDI, I think, if you go like this, and you can draw in, so this drop-down menu right here, go down to MIDI volume, and this will be your volume line right there. And everybody just hear what the pencil does. This is really useful if you're doing like, it makes instruments sound, virtual instruments sound really realistic. Like with violins, you can really like, using the freehand is the most popular one, or the most, I think, useful one. You can really help the violin do swells and make it sound really nice and realistic when you're using this kind of automation with the pencil tool. But just practice that you know how to do it right now. So take like 4 minutes and pick one of your tracks and draw in some wonky volume automation. And Jaden, you have a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out that like your audio for Pro Tools is like it's not coming from the screen share, it's coming from like your mic. So it sounds like weird.
Yeah, I forgot to share sound in Zoom. So much can go wrong. Thank you for letting me know.
While you were sharing the sound, it was just like choppy.
Oh, well, maybe that was the purpose because I was showing you that the volume. I'm playing around with the automation of the volume, but hopefully.
How
Sorry.
do I open the volume thing again?
Good question. So right here, where it says, so you have MIDI right here. So you probably see under where it has the title of your track name, it says clips. So click on that drop-down menu and go down to MIDI volume. And there should be a line that is a
MIDI volume.
straight line across.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Sorry, I have a question.
Go for it.
Opened my file today and I don't know why, like it is not producing any sound. Do you know why that could be?
I think you have to adjust your playback engine. So if you go up to this drop-down menu setup
Yeah,
and then go to playback engine,
playback engine.
and then I think you got to select your headphones because you're wearing headphones.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
No problem. Famin, you have a question.
How do I like bring the clips
Say that
in
one
the
more time.
bottom? Can you hear me?
Yes, you're a little muffled. Just say that one more time.
At the bottom, how do I like bring the clips again?
Bend the clips again. Is
Yeah,
that
like in
so?
the bottom.
Okay, so see this pencil tool up here at the top of your screen, click on that. You might have to hit the control button to get the menu to drop down. And then you can pick between freehand, line, triangle. Right at the where my audio file is, I picked random. But if you pick freehand, then you can draw in at will where you want your volume to get louder and where you want it to get softer.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Sorry, another question. I
Oh.
connected my MIDI keyboard
Uh-huh.
and it's but I don't seem to be able to make it sound.
Do you have the
It should.
record enable button on?
Oh yeah, that was it. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank
It's
you.
always just one button. All right, was everybody able to hear the difference and play around with the different modes of the pencil tool?
I had a problem. I heard the different sounds. I played around the audio. I can hear. The thing is that it's very low for some reason on my end. Like if you I don't know what it's called, but you can like see like basically the audio on like the, at least for me, you can like see it on like the on the right.
Oh, right.
And like every time like a note plays, it's like you can visibly see like it's like low,
Okay,
even
so
though
what,
like the green should be very high.
Jaden, you have a sensitive touch when you're playing the keyboard because your velocity seems to be, you probably didn't hit the keys hard. So if you do this drop down menu right here and you go up to velocity, that's how hard you hit the notes. So right now, this means if they're up here, that means it's very loud. I can drag them down to make them softer. Or I can drag them up to
So
make
if
them,
they're high, that means they're loud.
that means they're loud.
Okay, so they're all the way up.
They're all the way up. Well, what instrument do you have on?
I'm using like a MIDI keyboard.
What's your virtual instrument that you put on? What expand sound did you put on?
Oh, it's called Wavetable Bells. It was like when I did the homework, it was working. Like the audio was right, but now it's like now it's low for some reason. Can I share my screen and show you? Is that
Yeah.
all right?
Go for it.
Okay. Like I don't know if you can see on the right, like I'm playing keys. Like you see like it's like a little bit of green.
Oh, on your mix window.
Yeah. And it's like I can barely hear it through my headphones.
Yeah, that is weird.
I thought if I turn it all the way up, I can hear it, but it's still very low.
No, because that should
Like you
be
said,
the gain should be normal. Can you change to like a piano on the expand?
sure.
And go down to acoustic piano.
Mhm.
And now play.
I'm playing on the keyboard.
And you're playing on the keyboard. Do me a favor and just restart Pro Tools or quit Pro Tools, unplug your keyboard, plug your keyboard back in and restart Pro Tools.
Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah. Because it doesn't seem like you're having a signal flow problem. How did everybody else do with the pencil tool? Good? Cool. All right. Moving on. So then we have over here, our counter tool. And we want to be in bars and beats. A few of you went into minutes and seconds. That will screw up your grid here. That will make your grid look a little confusing and it will look like it's not syncing up to what you want. So for our purposes, we want to be in bars and beats. Go back to clip. Then grid mode, right here, we can pick the size of our grid. So if I do, I can do 16, or actually I'm going to do quarter notes. Now, if I want to move this, I can do something called nudge. And if I want to nudge the quarter note using the arrow above the period on your keyboard, you can nudge your clip left and right using those two arrows. If I just want to nudge it a little bit, I could go down to 64th notes and nudge it just a hair this way and a hair that way. Any questions on nudge and grid? If you deselect that, that gets rid of your grid lines. All right. So now we're going to go down to the rulers down here. If you do not see all these rulers, that's okay. You can pull them up by doing this drop-down menu right here. I probably don't need minutes and seconds, and I don't need time code. I don't need samples. You basically want bars, beats, markers, tempo, and meter. Selected. So if everybody wants to select those on their ruler menus.
Did you say we needed markers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Samantha, you have a question.
Where's that drop down menu again?
Yes. So right here, I don't know if you can see that above where it says tempo, meter, markers, any of the ruler things, there's a little caret arrow down.
Oh, okay, thank you.
No problem. So here, these are called the rulers. And what I can do is I can change my tempo by clicking on this double or on this little red flag. And if I click on that, I can change my tempo to whatever. You can change it to 80. You can also change your tempo up here. But here's a quick little way. I can also make my tempo, if I want to start at 80, and then I want to go to like pick it up a little and go to 120, I can hit this plus button right here and then go to 120 there. So I'm changing the tempo by hitting that plus button. And then at measure 4, it will bump up to 120. Kimberly, you have a question.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
I was wondering about the metronome. Like sometimes, like usually I want to hear it when when I was working on the first MIDI assignment, and I wanted to know how to hear it as I'm working.
Here as you're working. Okay, great question.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So if I up here, this is a transport window, and you can also pull up another transport window. You can double click on this. It looks like a little old fashioned metronome or one that we had back in the day, and you can double click on it. And then if you see right here, it says click during play and recording, click only during recording. So if when you do a playback, you don't want to hear the metronome, you only want to hear it when you record. And then you can also select only during count off. So sounds like Kimberly, you want to do during play and recording.
Yep.
That sound good? Another way you can do it is you can go up to this here, track, and down to create click. And that will create a click track down here. And then you always have it playing there. And you can also change, if you don't like the sound of your click, you can change your virtual click sound by just clicking on this right here. And then I think you can change it to bells, blocks, classic, shaker. So if something's giving you a headache, change it there. Javier, did you have a question?
No, I didn't.
Did somebody have a question? Thought I saw a hand raise.
Sorry, I had one, but I kind of like figured it out.
Okay, what did you figure out?
I was just curious about how you did the thing where like you could like in the middle of it change the tempo, but I kind of was just playing around with it and figured it out.
Yeah, so it's this plus button right up here. You select whatever bar you want to do it at, and then hit the plus sign, and there you go. You can also, is that what you figured out?
Well, I like hit the plus and then I typed in the spot, but that's way better.
Yeah, you can also do that. So if you hit the plus and then say at measure 100, you're like, I know, I don't want to scroll all the way there, but at measure 100, I want to change it to, 140. You can do it that way. And if I scroll out, you can see my little tempo change there. Similarly speaking, with meter, you can add or change your meter. So at measure 2, I want to change to 3/4. I can hit that there and go 3, 4. And then okay. Is everybody able to do this tempo meter change? So
Can
everybody's
you go over that one more time, please? I'm sorry.
yes, of course. So I'm going to get rid of those. Okay. So from the top, I have my rulers. These are called rulers right here. What I probably want to have is markers, tempo, and meter pulled up. Check. So my tempo, I can change my tempo by clicking this little red flag. If I want to start at 70, I'll change it there. I can also change my tempo up here in the transport on the top right by just double clicking on it. Then if at measure 7, I want to change to pick it up to like, say, 75, a subtle change. I hit the little plus button right over here. And then I type in 75. And you can see that the tempo has changed.
Okay.
That makes sense. You could also do what Vincent figured out and hit the plus button. And where it says location, you can type in the bar number that you want to change the tempo at. So you can pick, say, 30, and then bump it up a little more and go maybe 85. And then hit OK. Then you will see
Okay.
at measure 30, it changes.
Mhm.
I have two
Thank you.
questions.
Yes.
Sorry.
No problem.
If-
Does that answer your
if-
question, Haley?
Sorry.
Okay, cool. Javier.
If you wanted to do like a accelerating thing, so it's like at, I know, 80 and you want to go to 120 and you want to be like a curve, like going accelerating until you reach to that point. You would have to go each point, like point for point, like going.
Oh, no, I did know how to do it at one point, but I can't remember. Let me see if this works. If I do that little drop down menu and I pick the pencil tool. And then, yes, okay. Good question. So do you see the little drop down menu by tempo?
Yeah.
Okay, and I pick this pencil tool. If you do want to do a straight change, I would use the line option.
Hmm.
I have trouble with this drop down menu. Okay, I would use the line button. And then I would go like this. So if from measure 6 to measure 8, I really want to pick it up in a straight line, I would draw in. You're automating your tempo.
Mm.
You could also do it freehand, might be a little more human sounding. So I can kind of like go and then round it off at the top like that. Might sound a little nicer, a little less mechanical. Thank you.
How would you pick, sorry, the different types of pencil? Can you show me that? Because
Okay, yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
right here. And see that little, I have to, on my computer, I have to hit control and then
Okay.
it'll drop down. I don't know if that's the case with everybody or if you can just hit that little arrow.
I just made it appear, but I don't know how. And then now I'm not able to. So are you clicking up? Okay, it's twice. Oh, okay. I just realized how to do it. Okay, that's
Okay,
good.
cool. All
Ah,
right.
sorry, another thing.
Mhm.
What does it change if because I changed the meter, and obviously if the track is already in 4/4, it's going to stay the same.
Mhm.
What's the point on changing the meter?
So if if you're doing a film score and you want you have one piece and then you want it all to blend together and you're in 4/4 and then all of a sudden it goes into like 2/4. Or if you want to fit in a little section, you could put in just one bar and make it 1/4. So if you want to change your meter, that way, that would be a way to do it. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Okay, but it wouldn't affect the track, right? It
No,
wouldn't.
no, it would look different on your grid. Like, so if I go in here and I have my grid to, I think it would look different on my, so I can see now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Kimberly, you have a question.
Never mind. I was gonna ask something, but
Okay, cool. So the last thing you have here is markers, which are very useful. And you do them by hitting the plus button again. So it's good when you're writing a song, if you want to label your verse, chorus, bridge, so you can easily know where those lay in your session. So say I have my intro starts at 1 and then my verse starts at measure 4. I would hit the plus button and I would do V1. Then say my chorus starts at measure 10. I would hit the plus button and I would hit, say, chorus. And then say verse 2 starts at 15. Verse 2. So that way I can easily locate where I am in my session and go from one section to the other. versus guessing if you don't have your markers there. The other thing I like to do with markers is I like to put the chords in there. So when I'm playing all the different instruments, I know exactly what I'm playing. And it's like an easy cheat sheet for myself. So I would do like G, C, E minor, F, or something like that. And that way, when I'm going back and playing each section, I don't have to remember when I played. I just have my chords lined up there. So you can use them in both. Or you can put anything you want in the markers, but those are the two ways I use markers. Does that make sense for everybody? So let's take 5 minutes and everybody just play around with your markers, making sure that you know what to do with them. If you made a mistake and you want to delete your marker, you just hit the little yellow thing and pull it down and it will delete it. And you see a little trash can going there, and that's how you would delete that.
Professor, I have a quick question.
Go for it.
For the markers. So
Yes.
when we click the plus, do we have to make sure our arrow is on that specific one, or can we just go to markers plus sign? And is there a way to just type it specifically to that bar?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't see an option to do that. You can, once you create the marker, you can drag the marker to the right location. So,
Okay, this was really just for if, say, I click on, say, beat 4 and it's not precisely right on where it starts. I just want to make sure organizationally that it's on where
Yeah.
that bar begins.
I
So-
would go into grid mode because then it'll snap to that. If I
and then just do a freehand of.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can always drag it, you know, to where you want it to go. if
Gotcha.
you're A little odd. Samantha, you have a question.
How do we set the parameters for the markers?
So you would have to, exactly do you mean by that?
I mean by like, how do I like put like, okay, from measure 1 to measure 5, this is where I want the marker.
Oh, so you would have to measure 1, you would just go on to measure 5 and you would say, make your marker be 1. And then if that marker ends at measure 9, then you would create another marker at measure 9.
So there has to be like other markers.
There doesn't have to be. The markers are essentially for you and making your life a little easier when you're working with your session. So get a system that works for you. And
Okay,
that's a
cool.
great system. Michael.
I just have a quick question on how to color coord what's it called? The tracks and everything.
Oh yeah. Okay. So if you see this color over here, this blue,
Mhm.
all you have to do is double click on it.
Oh,
And then
okay.
you have a wide range of colors to pick from. And I find it useful to have a system where all my instruments
Different
are
instruments.
color.
Yeah.
So on all my sessions, all the pianos are purple.
Okay.
So when you're looking at it, especially in the mix window, they all look the same color.
All right. Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Jaden.
Yeah, I just want. Can I get a reminder how to zoom in and zoom out with the shortcut with the
Okay.
keys?
So if you have this little AZ over here, if it's off, you're not going to be able to zoom in and zoom out. If you click on it and it turns yellow, and then you hit the T button, it zooms in. And if you hit the R button, it zooms out.
All right, thank you.
No problem. Javier.
Yeah, I was. I saw you were like when I entered the class. You were playing with the thing that says shuffle, spot, sleep, and read. What's the difference between those modes?
Okay, cool. Good.
Sorry.
No problem. So we're going to be in grid mode, but it's good to know how to do all the modes. So grid mode snaps everything to the grid. So see if I'm sliding something over, it's no matter where I place it, it's going to snap to the grid. So it snaps in time, depending on where your grid is selected. So over here,
How do you select like that? Because I have trouble sometimes selecting like that, like things like in a, like you just did.
So
it's with the hand.
yeah, so the hand. So if I just have the hand selected, I can grab it anywhere on the track. If I have the smart tool selected, I have to go to the bottom of the track. Because if I'm at the top of the track, it goes into selector mode.
Mm,
I'm at the bottom, I will be in grabber mode. If I'm at the top, they'll be in selector mode. And if I'm at the ends, I'll be in trim mode. If that
okay.
confuses you too much, then you can just go into grabber mode when that's the mode you want to be in.
Yeah, I'm trying to select the 3 of those, but I'm not. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I
it's
think I
grab-
just saw how you. Okay.
And then slip mode allows you to have a lot of control, so you can go in between the grid when you're moving your track around.
Hmm.
But we want to be in grid mode. And then shuffle mode, you're not going to use, but just so you know how to do it, it's if I select right here and I hit delete, it's going to move everything over. So it shifts that over. It fills in the gap. If I'm in grid mode and do the same thing, it will just delete that section and nothing will shuffle over. That makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Jorge.
Is there a quick shortcut for changing the marker color after the fact? Because I found like you can do it in color palette, but yeah, would you know offhand if there's like a key command for it?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure there is. I will look it up and get back to you because there must be, but I don't know it.
Yeah, okay.
But
Thank
that's a
you.
good question. No problem. How's everybody else doing? Everybody feel confident with their markers? And changing tempo, changing meter? All right, great. A couple quick keys that you might be interested in. We'll be going over a bunch of quick keys later. But return, hitting the return button allows you to go to the start of the session right away. Hitting the space bar allows you to play. Record, once you have a track record enabled, if you do shift command space bar, then that allows you to record. And then the nudge with the carrots. All right, so MIDI editor. This will be what you can do in the edit window. You can also do in the MIDI editor. I will show you here. Sorry for all the back and forth. So if I have my grabber tool selected and I double click, this is what's called the MIDI editor. And basically I can edit the MIDI in this window. The cool thing about this is I can do the same thing. I can draw in notes with the pencil tool. I can delete notes or a selection. I can grab a note one by one. It just is a more zoomed in look. I can go in slip mode or grid mode. I can see the sheet music. I can also edit the sheet music if I hit this little musical note up here on the left. And you can also automate the MIDI down here or the velocity. So if I want to change my velocity, which can somebody tell me what velocity is? We just talked about it with Jaden a little bit.
It's the strength. Sorry.
Go for it, Kimberly.
It's the strength of like how hard you hit a note, I think.
Yeah. So once you play, you do your performance and you're like, oh, I wish I played a little harder, but I don't want to redo it because I like what I did. You can adjust the velocity. You can go and you can actually use the pencil tool if you want, and you can draw in the velocity that you would like it to be. And you can go down. What mode? Oh, I'm in line mode. Let's see if I can change that. So if I do freehand, I can go like, I don't know why it's not doing it. Oh, should work, but it's not. But okay. So that's another thing that you can control in your MIDI editor. Michael, you have a question.
Hello, can you just show me how to do the How you got into the MIDI editor one more time?
Yeah, no problem. So if you select your grabber tool
Mhm.
and you are in clip mode is right here.
Oh,
You
okay, okay.
just have to double click on it and then you'll be in your MIDI editor.
Okay, perfect.
No problem. You can also change the panning. Does anybody know what panning is?
Can I answer this one?
Yeah, go for it.
It's like when the track plays in like your left and right ear.
Yeah, exactly. So if you guys listen to a lot of the 60s music, they panned all their instruments left or right. And if one of your earbuds goes out, you're definitely missing instruments when tracks have been panned. So I can pan my MIDI. So it's going into the right ear here, and then the left ear here, and the right ear here, and the left ear here. And you can hear it kind of windshield wipering back and forth. It's kind of extreme, but it's a cool effect to do to one or two instruments in your track. And then I can also, what else can I do? Pitch bend, I never really worked with that. I can adjust the MIDI volume here also. I can do my freehand using my pencil tool. So let's everybody take like 3 minutes, open up your MIDI editor, play around with the pencil tool, make sure you know where the sheet music is. And maybe draw in a couple notes. Just make sure that you guys can do all that stuff.
Sorry, I have my MIDI thing open, but it's like really small at the lowest part of the program.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
really
having the
small.
same issue too.
Oh,
I- so I have to put it up, right? Like, or how do you make it bigger? Because you have it really big.
we're gonna adjust our preferences in a minute and then it'll fix that problem, but just leave it for now.
Okay.
How did you see the sheet music?
So up here,
Oh,
there's
okay.
a notation display enabled.
Okay. Perfect.
And what is a new feature of Pro Tools that is going to be really great for our final projects is you can actually print the score in Pro Tools, which was not the case a while ago.
How do you clear the formatting? You know, like when you mess around with it in the pencil tool, how do you make it all go back to like a straight line?
That is a great question. If you select the selector tool and then just highlight the whole thing and hit delete, it should go back. Or you can do Command Z if that does not work. But that should have worked. I don't know why I didn't.
Professor, can I just say something, just to go back to Javier's question?
Yes.
Because I also had the same thing. So if do you have Windows, Javier, or are you on a Mac?
I'm on a Mac.
Oh, okay. Because maybe it's the same thing. I have a Windows, but if you go to the window part on top, you can go to MIDI editor, and for me it's start equals, and that way it'll come up as a pop-up as well. So I was having the same issue. It was on the bottom, but then when I clicked that, it came up separately.
Thank you, Syed. So it would be
Oh
on
yeah, I see
would
it.
be control equals.
Right.
Thank you, Syed.
And sorry, can you repeat the part of if you want to modify the attack of each note, how would you do
So
that?
the velocity of each note.
Ah, yeah, the velocity. That's
Yeah.
the
So
velocity.
if you go
Okay.
down to here and then velocity, and then you can do it note by note and drag the notes down or drag the velocity up and down. Or
Okay.
pencil mark it in.
Mm.
And if you want to make that section bigger, I think you can, oh, maybe not. Yeah, you can pull it down to make it a little larger so you can see better. Everybody feel comfortable in the MIDI editor?
Yeah.
Cool. So who can tell me how to quantize? And these just a little that way.
Don't you have to like press the Q on the top near the where you choose the note and stuff is like the quarter notes?
Yes, so I would select all by doing Command A. And then I would go to option. Oh, no, sorry, event operations and down to quantize. And the quick key would be option 0. And then if I played all quarter notes, I would go quantize to the grid at quarter notes. If I played eighth notes in quarter notes, I would want to quantize to the lowest or the fastest note. So I would quantize to the eighth notes. If I played 16th notes into quarter notes, I would want to quantize to the 16th note. Otherwise, everything's going to shift to the quarter note, and you don't want that to happen. So I played a random thing, but I'm going to select 8 notes. And then if I hit apply, everything should snap to the grid. You have to be close enough to the grid in order for that to work. If you really did not play in time at all, then you might want to re-record everything. Any questions on quantizing? All right. Next, we are going to go to the mix window. So the main window that pops up is our editor window. This is that. Our mix window is what we'll be working on. Once you recorded everything, you're going to go to what's called the mix window. It is similar. It looks similar to a console board. Has anybody recorded in the studio or seen one of those giant console boards?
Yes.
Yes. Who said yes?
Me.
Oh, hold on. Can you tell me what your experience was?
Recording my music, it was going to I don't know anything. I'm trying to learn, but recording my albums, I went to a studio back in Buenos Aires, and they had these panels like with a lot of stuff, and I was like blown away by all this stuff.
Yeah,
Too many. Yeah, it seems like a space station. I don't know.
it is very galactical, and
Yeah.
it does look like this. When you're in the studio, it's really fun to play with the faders, but here it's the same kind of thing, and it's kind of replicates what we saw in the edit window. So you can add your inserts here.
How did you open it? Sorry, can you repeat that
You
part?
do Command equal. Command equal will let you toggle between the edit window and the mix window. Or you could go
Okay.
up to window and then down to mix. So these are strips, channel strips. They are all, this one is exactly the same as this one, is exactly the same as this one. So like if you're in a recording studio and you see 50 of them, they all do the same thing. So as long as you know what one does, you know what all of them do. So here we have inserts. So like on the edit window, you can add your instrument here. Sends, we're not going to work on right now. That's when in a couple of weeks, we'll be dealing with that. Input, IO means input, output. When you're doing MIDI, you have no input. When you're doing audio, you will have your input will be, your interface will be your input. So you'll have to select that. Your output is your speaker or your headphones. This is your automation. We're in read mode right now, but when we get into mixing, we'll be talking about automation, and that's where we'll be doing that. These are your pan knobs, which move your track all the way to the right or all the way to the left, depending on where you want your track to live. So if I pull down, it moves it to the left. If I pull up, it moves it to the right. You can also, if you go like that, If you hit the option button and then click on it, it will go dead up the center. So if I click on it and I hold down the option key, it will go up the center. You don't want everything to live up the center. You want every instrument to have a space in your speaker. Jorge.
Considering those have like left pan knobs and like right pan knobs, if you turn like a left pan knob toward the right, is it panning it to the right ear or is it panning it to the right side of the left ear?
Ooh, that's a hard question. I'm not sure. We'll have to, let's listen and find out. So if
I think so.
all
I
the way
think
to the
so.
right, I believe I'm hearing it in my left speaker. Oh, but I fooled around with my panning over here. So I think I screwed myself up. But that was a really good question. All right, then we have solo mode, S. If you just want to hear that one track, you do that. Mute, if you want to mute that track and only hear the rest of your tracks, you hit the M button. This is called the fader, which controls your output volume. So if it's all the way down, you're not going to hear anything. If it's all the way up, it's going to be really loud. You don't really want it to go above 0. And if you want it to reset, you hold down the option key and click on it, and it will bounce back to 0. Haley.
If I did my MIDI in a mono track, would it make it so I only have one knob? Because I only see one knob. I don't see two.
Yes. So if your instrument, all instrument tracks should be stereo, so they would have 2 knobs. But if you made it mono, it would only have 1 knob.
Okay. So I messed that up. Thank you.
Okay. Audio tracks are only are mono, so they should only have 1 knob, but stereo are instrument tracks and they should have 2 knobs. Then down here, you can see that this is a MIDI by this little icon. And then you can see that this is an audio file by this icon. You can also double click in here and make some comments if you want to. You can say like lead piano or whatever you want down in there. And then you can change your track color here as well. Any questions? So everybody take a couple minutes and play around with this. Play around, make sure you can turn your knobs, pull down to make it go to the left, pull up to make it go to the right. Jorge, do you want to confirm that going to the right makes it go to the left in your speakers?
Yep.
Confirm or deny? Jaden, is your keyboard working?
Yes, it is. I got it
Okay.
working.
So it was a reboot, or did you have to do something else?
It was something with the MIDI keyboard.
Oh, okay.
It's like the levels are off or something like that.
Okay. The option key is, Famin, are you on a Windows or are you on a Mac? Window. Does anybody know where the option key is on a Windows keyboard?
I believe that is your no, your shift.
Your shift key, okay.
Is it to open the mix? The mix is control equals.
You control, yeah.
Control equals is the mix on. Okay.
Is there any way to make my mono track stereo after I've recorded, like on the MIDI? Because I was working on the assignment file or
That is a good question. Let me look that up because I'm not sure.
because I feel like you should be able to with MIDI one, right?
I think you should. But whether they figured out how to, I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Professor, I know you mentioned it before, when you have the fader going back to the original, back to 0, that you said it was the options and click?
Yeah, option and click on the fader. And that should make it bounce back to 0.
For some reason, it's not letting me. I also have a Windows though. I'm using control click and that's not working.
Option key Windows keyboard. It's the Alt key.
Thank you.
No problem. Jorge, I found your answer to your marker question. So you would go up to window, then down to color palette. And then this box would pop up. Sorry, I'll get rid of it so it pops up appropriately. So then down to color palette. And then you can select if you want to do tracks, you have your color palette for your tracks, or you would go down to markers and then you would select where the marker is. And then you would pick, I want it to be this color or that color. That makes sense?
Very cool. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Also, I've simply copy and pasted this into a stereo track, so it's fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
good job. Okay, and Famin on the option key is the Alt key. So whenever I refer to option, use Alt. I'll try to remember that too. Okay, so everybody feel good about their mix window skills thus far? All right, we're going to visit our final window. And that is, no, I'm not sharing. So our final window is the transport window. So I can go to Command 1 or go up to Window and then down to Transport. And this will pop up. This window right here. I can add some things onto it if I want. So I'm going to add counter MIDI controllers onto that. So it will look like this. And I did that by this little drop-down menu right here. This is the same thing as up here. Some people just like to have it in a separate little window. what you can do in the transport window is you can change your tempo here, you can change your meter here, and then you can turn on your count off, turn it on and off. If I want to turn it on, but I don't want it to be 2 bars, I only want it to be 1 bar, I will do just 1 bar. You can also decide if you want the count off only during recording. I would select that. And then hit OK. The other useful things here are my conductor. If I do not have the conductor selected, I'm not able to change the tempo. So see how all my tempo markers went away when I turned that off? If I turn it back on, they go back on. I don't know why, but you just have to turn that little guy on. Then we have, this is called MIDI merge. So if I go here and I turn that on and I go to the top of my session and I want to record more piano, say I want to record a harmony over. If I have this selected, I can record over that and it will, hold on. Wait, hold on. 1 second. I don't want the count off. Okay, I will go. And I can record over it. If I do not have this turned on, and I go back to the top, it erases what I did and records over it. So this is called note overlap. This button right here is called wait for note. So if I want the metronome to just start playing, and then I come in, when I come in, it will wait for me to play something and then it will start recording. That makes sense? So everybody pull up your metronome or your transport window and just play around with wait for note and MIDI merge for right now. And see the difference between the two. Any questions with the transport window? Cool. All right, those are our 3 windows. And there you have it. You know all that. All right, so right now we're just going to, before we go on our break, we're going to change our preferences. So we all have similar preferences. So if you go up to Pro Tools and then down to Preferences, this window will pop up. And I want everybody to make sure that your preferences will look like this. Right here. So under the Display tab, make sure all these boxes are checked that are checked.
I can't select Pro Tools on Windows. Do you know what button it would be?
Oh. Okay, let me look.
If you go to setup, well, 1 second. It's setup, and then on the bottom preferences.
Thank you.
Thank you, Syed. You're our Windows expert.
How do you put the like the preferences again? The open the window is in file or where?
It's in Pro Tools and then go down to preferences.
Oh. Okay, it should look like. Hmm.
Professor,
Mm-hmm.
for the MIDI Pro Tools preference,
Mhm.
under where it says MIDI merge release mode, it only says latch and latch until next event. It doesn't say anything for the word
It doesn't say
touch.
touch.
No.
All right, then just leave that. Maybe it's the Pro Tools first.
All right. I think
yeah.
that's latched. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Auto.
Everybody just give me a thumbs up on your
I already have everything.
awesome. Right, cool. Are there any questions on what we've gone over thus far? All right, great. So let's take a little break. Let's come back at 6:40 and then we're going to get into songwriting, which is very exciting. I'll see you all soon.
Great.
Then, and then I fill in the melody with words, and I did like some poetry for a while, so it kind of just goes like that.
Awesome. That's a great technique. Who else?
I don't really write songs often because most of my music is instrumental. But when I do, it's mostly like story based. Like I write as a method of like storytelling, basically.
Nice. Who else?
I've done more jam sessions with people, and then we just kind of feed off ideas. We just kind of pick a key, time signature, and we just kind of go from there.
Cool. Like that in the moment. Awesome. Well, I'm going to share with you. I don't know if there's any Beatles fans in the house, but I really like this video. I think it's inspirational for starting or just any songwriter. So let's watch.
I actually don't know.
Oh, hold on. I might not have shared the sound.
It was something.
Yeah,
You
I
heard
can hear it.
Okay. Good.
How to do it, and I don't want to know how to do it. When I sit down to write a song, I hope it's something I don't know how to do, and I hope it's new, and I don't want to think, oh, it's got to do that, it's got to do this. And if I find myself getting predictable, I'll try and break the thing. So I was now going to try and write a song. I would first of all go somewhere very quiet, like a faraway cupboard or toilet, because it's embarrassing writing songs. You don't want to do it in public because you want to make your mistakes in private. So yeah, I would get somewhere very quiet and probably take a guitar. When you're growing up, you've got so many questions and things flooding in that if you can get off in a quiet space with a guitar and you kind of can tell your troubles to the guitar. And often in doing that, you come out of the other end and, oh, it's a song. We used to think it was like the greatest therapy. And then just start noodling around on whatever chord you fancy that day, whatever. So I'm just coming in my mind, it would be A to the one up from F. So I'd be, you know, I would start with that and start just sort of noodling with it. And just kind of select a rhythm or a tempo that feels okay in the mood I'm in. And then I just start sort of singing over it and just see what comes out. And sometimes something crazy comes out.
When it comes to giving your bathroom a fresh spin, with Wayfair, it's easy, so you can change your.
And often with a song, I'll just start sort of vamping, in Ellen Rigby's case, just starting vamping on an E minor chord, jum, 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 and then I start singing over it. Ba-da-doo-da, ba-da-doo-da. And as I'm sort of doing that, blocking the tune out, I find I get ba-da-doo-da, some-a-doo-da, and you can almost hear words in what you're blocking out. And so I knew it was going to be a name. And I had to sort of pick up the rice in the church. I think that was the first thing that came, picks up the rice in the church. So that's good. Picking up rice in the church. Ah, well, there's been a wedding. Ah, well, she's a cleaner. So I kind of work backwards. It's like a detective story. I just get a phrase that like comes out of nowhere, and then I think, okay, now I've got this. Now I've got to get a name. That's the process for me, is kind of getting a little inspiration and then building on it and filling it in. It's as if, I remember a great old story about an Irish postman going past a guy in a field who was making a sculpture out of a big piece of rock. And he went by for weeks. Good morning, good morning, good morning. And finally, when the man had made a big figure out of this rock, the postman came up to him and said, "That's lovely." He said, "How did you know he was in there? You just keep chipping away." And it's like, how did I know she was in there in Eleanor Rigby?
It's just a voyage of discovery, you know. I mean, it sounds corny, but it is. And that's what I love about it. You never know what you're going to come out with. No idea whether this is going to be a warm song, a sad song, a story song. You can never tell. I just sit down at a piano or guitar and just start noodling, just start doing something. And if I find a chord that I like, I go, I love this chord. Oh, so I just will start strumming with this chord. And, you know, you probably go through memories that chord evokes. You know, if it's like C, if it's like C major, then I will go right back to when I first learned that and some of the songs I knew then. So when I strum C, that brings those emotions back. And sometimes then I will just recycle them and not copy the song, but use that emotion. Oh, yeah, okay. And then once I'm off on the trail, and if I have a little time, as I said, then I will just follow and just see what the next sentence ought to be. And see if I've got some sort of an idea. But as the song unfolds, you start to sort of, you get the idea. You go, I see where I'm going. Sometimes, like on this album, Find My Way, I had this idea, I was in the car, singing along to something. I'll find my way. I know my left from right, you know. And I just had this little idea of like being in control. But then when I came into the middle of the song, I was thinking, well, what about people who can't do that? And I know, we all know people who can't. That's what the middle is. You know, you never used to be afraid of days like these, but now you're overwhelmed by your anxieties. And so that was talking to someone like that. And then it was like, let me be your guide. You know, let me help you through the love you feel inside. So that gave the song a nice shape, because it had my confidence and then the anxiety of this other person. So that's what that all meant to me. And so I could do the A, and then the other thing will be the B. So put them together, and you've got a little bit of structure for the song. And it's actually also nice to sing, because the first bit is, I find my way. It's quite deep, it's quite low. There's nothing, I never is there. So you go right up for the middle. And that's like a nice thing to do in the song, you know. And that was the thing when I was working with John, that was like, I'd say a sentence and he'd suggest the next one. And then I'd suggest the next one. So we'd ping pong off each other, you know. And often we got a good results because John was such a different personality. Like I said in Find My Way, there's two personalities. There's the confident and then the anxious. When I'm sitting down with John, it would be like I'd go, it's getting better all the time. And he'd go, couldn't get much worse. So you get that great A and B thing, you know, you go, yeah, great. It moves you on. But I would kind of go with it and just try and follow the trail. And I think the main thing is to stick with it and not just go, oh, this is terrible. You know, once you're writing a song and it feels good, you can't betray the song and say, I'm not going to finish you because you sound like something I've heard before. You owe it to the song and to yourself to just go with it and finish it. Because often the second verse or the chorus can get great. And then you can sort of go back and fix the beginning of it, you know. So and the process that John and I used is kind of still how I use, still the one I use. And it was just basically to sit down, come up with a bit of an idea of a song and finish it. Just keep doing it until you got to the end. And then you'd written the song, which I think was probably good rather than having a little fragment, a little sketch that maybe months later you'll return to, and you'll be trying to recapture the vibe that you did listening to it. And so I don't think it's as good a system, and that I would complain about that, just because it's too easy to put ideas down and then just not bother. We didn't really do much recording, you know, but the thing is, why I say it was a good thing was that we had to write songs you could remember. And I think that turned out to be a good thing. So, you know, John and I would have a writing session and we'd write something, go away. It was normally in the afternoon, so that we'd go away, we'd have an evening out and stuff. And in the middle of the evening, you'd think, what was that thing we wrote? Oh my God, I've forgotten it. But it always came back in the morning. First thing in the morning, oh yeah, that was it. So you play it again and you just remembered it. And we ended up saying, well, if we can't remember it, how do we expect other people to? Yeah. So I suppose you were writing stuff that was memorable. It happens different ways, you know. Sometimes it's you're playing, you're singing it, and you get the words. Sometimes it's just the melody, and you don't have any words. So you just work on the melody and make sure you got that right.
And I just woke up one morning with this tune in my head. I thought, I don't know this tune, or do I? It's like an old jazz tune or something, and because my dad used to know a lot of old jazz stuff. Maybe I've just remembered it or somewhere. So I sort of went to the piano, found the chords to it, you know. Because I didn't want to really say to people, I, for some reason, had got scrambled eggs. Oh, my baby, I love your legs, which is sort of goonish. You know, you can hear Spike doing that. And then, obviously, I knew those weren't going to be the words. So I just, the next couple of weeks, I remember actually being in the back of a car, going on holiday, somewhere, one of those long drives from the airport through a dusty road, I think it was Portugal, and just thinking, right, da-da-da, da-da-da, I need a 3-syllable word, da-da-da, yesterday, that's a good one, suddenly, that's another good one, okay, that's 2 verses taken care of. It's about the rhythm of the melody. I knew I didn't want 3 words, you and me, and I wanted 1 word, so I had to just search for a 3-syllable word that fitted the melody. There was something sort of poignant about it.
So that's what I do, and I just keep going, and then I just write the words down as I go. And sometimes the second verse is better, so I switch that.
When I think of a song, I don't really think of it getting very complex lyrically. I somehow think it'll its framework shouldn't be too complex, because that'll, I don't know, make it more difficult to make it a song. And with a song, I like to have hooks, I like to have recurring things.
But it is easier for me to write a veiled version of it. So if I'm thinking about civil rights and I'm thinking about the black women being abused as they go into the school, then to me, I prefer to see it as an image of a blackbird. And then I talk about broken wings. So I use metaphors so that on the one hand, if you're a little kid, a lot of little kids say to me, the blackbird's their favorite song. So if you're a little kid, they don't know about the civil rights. They're seeing a blackbird and the freedom, and they're feeling the idea of just escaping barriers and stuff, you know, and they just like it as a little song. But so for me, that's what nearly always happens is like in Let It Be, I'll talk about, you know, darkness and times of trouble and stuff, but I'm not often specific because it's just not my way. And I'm much more comfortable talking about it, but veiling it somehow. It's not hiding it. It's just using a metaphor. I sometimes think that's stronger, so that to actually write overtly about a situation is a little more difficult for me than it is for some other people. I'm allowed more poetry if I've gone in with a sort of metaphor, then I've got more room to play, and I can think of the same subjects that are bothering me, the lack of freedom and things like that, and you know, the broken wings, the sunken eyes, all this idea. And I know what I'm talking about, and I think a lot of people do. I mean, you think about it, how many people this year particularly have got broken wings? The metaphor is a strong one for a lot of people. So instead of saying, you know, you're out of work, you lost your job, well, your work closed down, then I would talk about broken wings and sunken eyes. And to me, it's strong, but it's not as specific. To me, the thing that resonated with me when I was at school, it's just a phrase from Shakespeare, it's to thine own self be true. I've always thought that's very sensible, very strong, and I've lived by that, and I continue to.
This is the best product that Huel have released in recent times. Many of you will think of alternatives to this, but I've tried those alternatives and none of them are as tasty as Huel's Day.
Okay. So you don't have to write a song, but it might be inspirational for whatever kind of music you do want to write. So let's go to how we're gonna go from that to where we're gonna go with our homework. So if we're starting from scratch, we've never written a song before, I think we should keep it simple. So for this week's project, you're going to be making 3 tracks. One is going to be some kind of bass, one's going to be a harmony, and one's going to be a melody. And so if I'm recording a song, maybe I will pick a key. Say we pick the key of C, for instance. And on our keyboard, if you don't know how to play the keyboard, here are little cheat sheets on how to do that. So the 1 chord would be C, the 4 chord would be F, the 5 chord would be G, and then the 6 chord would be a minor chord, A minor. And you can play any note, any of the white notes, and you'll still be in the key of C. Popular chord progressions are, you can use any chord progression you would like, but you could use 1 4 5, 1 5 6 4, 1 4 6 5, 1 6 4 5 are some suggestions. And then once you have your chord structure down, then I would add a melody. This is just the way I would go about the homework, but you can really do anything that you want. So once I had my chord progression down, I would play it over and over again, and then I would start humming something in my head. And then figure it out on the piano and then add it into, I often in your pocket, everybody has a phone and probably has a little recorder on it. So while you're walking around, just start humming some melodies and get them down there. And then you could also, rather than doing the chords first, you could create a melody and then put chords underneath it if you want. For song ideas, if you're doing a song, popular song ideas for sync licensing, which is what's on TV and commercials, is overcoming things, being bold, talking about home, sunshine, togetherness, empowerment are all hot topics, but you can write about whatever you want. I really liked how Paul McCartney likes to be ambiguous. I think that's making it relatable for everybody is making it kind of obscure. Lyrics marketing research has shown that 4-word sequences are the most attractive and memorable. Think of happy birthday, let's get it on, here I go again. Make a stream of conscious list of all your ideas. So in Pro Tools, actually in Logic, there's a notepad that you can use and just type down any words that you think are relevant to the idea that you have. So you can go in any order you want. You can come up with your song idea, then create a melody, and then add chords. You can create chord progression and then add a melody. And then once you do that, then you can start flushing out the production, which is adding a bass, adding harmonies, adding drums, which we will get into next week. If you're doing an instrument track, you would do that minus the lyrics. You could also start with the temp track. Does anybody know what a temp track is? So a temp track is, somebody wrote in the chat. See, I think it was Javier. Okay, Javier does not know. A temp track is a track that you like. So if you're like, I want to write, a song like the Beatles, I would pick the song that I would want to write it like, and then I would suss out what key is it in. I would suss out what tempo is it in, what meter is it in, what chord progressions are they using, and then you could kind of take it from there and then create your own based off that. So it's kind of a filler track that you're getting inspired from. Samantha, you have a question.
Does it have to be in C?
No, not at all. This is just for anybody that doesn't know where to start or how to start. It's just an example, but you can have a 2-chord progression. You can do whatever you want. Michael.
Going off of that, does it also have to be just the white keys, or could we add sharps, flats?
Oh yeah, you can put it in the key of F sharp if you
great.
want. You can do whatever you
Perfect.
like. So
And one last question real quick.
yes.
When we're talking about the bass melody on the bottom, does that necessarily have to be a bass itself, or can it be like the piano bass?
The piano can be your bass. You can have whatever you
Alright.
want as your bass.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes. So for next week, you're going to sequence a song using virtual instruments in Pro Tools. Use 1 track for the melody of the song. Use 1 track for the harmony and 1 track for the bass line. So it's a total of 3 tracks. The song for grad students has to be at least 3 minutes long, and for undergrads has to be 2 minutes long. Or you can do 64 bars for grad students or 32 bars for undergrads. If you do that, it will probably be a lot shorter than 3 minutes or 2 minutes. And then I want you to include your markers and chord symbols if you want. Javier.
I think Carl was before me, but
Oh, Carl.
yeah.
Oh, I was wondering about the Google Classroom.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I have the link to the Google Classroom, so I haven't joined.
Email me your Gmail and I will send you a link.
Okay.
And then accept the invite, and then that'll
Also, are the class recordings on the Google Classroom?
yeah, so in the stream, in the classroom stream, the recordings are there. So you can rewatch them.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Javier.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, because I know like I'm a guitar player, so I know a lot of how to play the guitar, you know. And since the MIDI is a keyboard, I can play chords, but it would take me like ages to like nail down the voicing, and in the guitar it would be like 2 seconds. So I was wondering, could it be like more like instead of a melodic like harmony and melody, could it be more like a bass and drums kind of vibe and more electronic? Because I was trying like the bass synths and all that, and they sound pretty cool to me. So I was wondering if it could be something more in that type of style.
If you want, I mean, I would challenge yourself to try and figure it out on the keyboard. The projects are for you guys, they're not for me. So do your best and create something that you're proud of.
Okay. And the other part, like recording, it will be all MIDI, right? With the so nothing.
The next
okay.
2 weeks, we're going to be doing MIDI, and then after that, we'll be doing audio, which you can do your guitar for that. But it's important to nail down the MIDI too.
Okay. I forgot the next question, so I will let the other person ask, and then I will come back.
Sounds good. Jorge.
Hey, would we, in addition to our 3 MIDI tracks, could we also add voice? If not, that's also a cool limitation, but okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
This is minimum. So you can do a
Got it.
5-minute song if you want, but just minimum is 3 tracks. But
so we can add like a vocal track in addition if we want, or keep
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Okay, cool. Thank you.
no problem. Kimberly.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
We could add like a drum track, right?
If you want to, we're going to be working on drum programming next week. But if you want to get a head start and add some drums in, by all means.
Okay, thank you.
Syed.
This question is more from what Javier and Jorge had mentioned, but so for the 3 tracks, do they all have to be MIDI tracks instead of additioning? So if I wanted to say put bass line and then chords for those 2 tracks, and then possibly like me playing like the trombone, for example, for a melody, would I be able to do something like that?
I make it
Or
3
should I
tracks.
just stick to?
Yeah, and then add a trombone for your melody, but make sure you have 3 MIDI tracks.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
No problem. Cal.
Yeah, with the drums, I was wondering, could we sample drums?
That gets a little hairy, because you might not have rights to it. So if you're doing it for class purposes, then you can sample drums and, you know, just give the credit where credit is due, but you probably wouldn't be able to share it on YouTube or anything, or with other people if you're sampling.
Oh yeah, there are a lot of sample packs. I was asking because the keyboard I have comes with.
Oh, okay. So on your keyboard, those kind of drum loops.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you can use those. Yep.
Okay.
Good question. Famin, you're asking what's the difference between melody and harmony? So does anybody want to answer that? That's a great question.
Harmony is the chord progression which you are using, basically, the chords, and the melody would be like the one note, like a monophonic line or something that would be the thing that the harmony is supporting.
Yeah. So the melody is what you're singing, what you're taking away, and the harmony supports the melody. So I can open up a Pro Tools session and show everybody how I would begin to flesh it out, if that's helpful. Kimberly, did you have a question? No. Javier, do you have another question?
Yeah, I was also I know that we are going to see probably that next class, but I wanted to ask because when I was I went to like the plugins, I was trying to go to drums, and like you have snares, you have this and that, but you don't have like a drum part. You know what I mean? Like if I press the keys, it's all snares, then all hi-hats, then all like, but you don't have like. Yeah.
In Pro Tools, in Expand, they break it out into the different sections, but you can get plugins where it's all one chunk. but I think you have to buy those. I'm not sure if there's a free one. There's not a free one that I know of that comes in as a kit.
Oh, nice.
Chewy.
I was wondering if I could have the bass and harmony be piano, just like a piano part.
Yeah, as long as it's on separate tracks and they're like distinctive from each other, but try just changing the virtual instrument to a bass and see if it makes a difference.
Okay.
So what I would, let me show you how I would approach this. So I'm going to open my Pro Tools session. Move you guys up here.
Quick question while you're doing that. I was trying to open again. I forgot how to make the track sound. You know what I mean? Like when I open, I put new track, I put the instrument, I put stereo and everything, and I put the expand. But and I tried to put record, you know, in the left side of where the instrument is appearing, and it's not like letting me put it because it says input is not like, or
hit the record enable button.
yeah, and it's not letting me. It says you have to enable the input or output something. I don't know. Like I don't have any.
Did you create a instrument track or were you creating an audio track?
I put I think I created an instrument one, but I can see how you're doing it now. So you're going to go from zero. So I want to see that. So
okay,
maybe you can explain it while you do it.
No problem. All right, so I'm starting a new session for this week. So give your piece a nice name, not just homework too. Have a little fun with it. So does somebody want to give me a name? All right, how about like, we'll do like New York City night. Okay, then I will do underscore. We're on what, the 6th? Is that what the date is? And then my initials. That's how we name it. Everything else should be the same. I'm interleaved. I know where I'm saving this. And then I hit create. So I have my edit window right here. I'm going to create 3 new tracks. So I'm going to go to Shift Command N, create tracks. So I'm going to create 1 track. I'll do stereo, instrument. So my first track I will name melody. Then a little shortcut, rather than creating another track by going Command Shift N, you can hit this plus button. And I will create another track, instrument, and then I will say harmony. And then I will hit another button and I will do the same thing, stereo, instrument, and bass. And then I will hit create. And these will populate up like such. Now, I spelled melody wrong. All right, so inserts. So I'm going to say, I'm going to put I'll make my melody, I'm going to make it a violin. Why not? So I'm going to go to violin strings. I'll pick solo violin. Harmony, let me pick piano, because why not? You could have your strings be your harmony. Instrument, and to expand, and then acoustic piano. I'll go to Brand Eco. Okay, and then bass. I can do a shortcut, and if I hold down Option, or on Windows, I believe it's Alt, and then I just hit expand and then drag it down, it'll copy my virtual instrument, and then I can just open it up and then go to bass, and then maybe I'll pick double bass. So I'm going to start by recording my harmony. Let me pick a tempo. I'm going to go with something a little slower, so play more in time. And with MIDI, you can adjust the tempo and it'll adjust the notes. In audio, if you adjust the tempo, it will not adjust your audio to match the tempo. But the beauty with MIDI is it will. So let me do 1 bar count off. I'm gonna record enable. I'm gonna do a 1, 4, 5. I'll do 1, 4, 1, 5 in the key of C, just for our easy example. Can I hear my count off? Hold on, I gotta turn on my, get my click track going. In here. And then, make sure my playback engine's right. Oh, for some reason I can't hear. Let's see. What the deal is. Speakers and output. Oh. Okay. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna try this again. Okay, I hear my clip. So. Now I will, I don't know why I wasn't hearing my click. Oh, probably because.
Are we supposed to hear the audio from your
What's
computer?
that? Yes, I
Are we
think.
supposed to
you
hear
should.
the audio from your
Are you not
computer?
hearing it?
No.
Oh, okay, hold on. Sound. Okay. Try this again. Options. Can you hear that? Yeah, okay. So. Okay, let me start. I'll hit return, start from the top. I don't know why I'm not hearing my click. It's annoying. So I'm just gonna do. So that will be my harmony. And then I'm going to play over it my melody. So actually, I'm going to start, sorry for the scatterness. I'm going to do, yeah, just turn this off. I'm going to do. Okay, so that's my harmony. I'm going to go and I'm going to quantize it. I'll go event operations, quantize. I can quantize it to the quarter note. I can quantize it to the whole note if I want. And then if I want to split my clip, you do Command E. So then I can get rid of this and drag it over. Then another little trick is if you hit the option button, you can drag and copy. So it loops it. So now I have my chord progression of.
Can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
No.
No, we can't hear it.
Okay. Let me do Zoom. If this works. Can you hear it now? Okay, so here's my chord progression.
I can hear it.
I can't hear
Yeah, I
it.
can.
You can or can't?
Most of us can, just Jaden can't, I think.
Okay. All right. So anyways, you create your loop, your chord progression. And then I'll start from the top and I'll kind of listen to it. and I'll create a melody over that. So there we go. And maybe I want to change one of my notes. I'd rather have it up here. Yeah, then I have that, and then I'm going to quantize those notes, event, operation, quantize the quarter note, and there we go. So then I have my first. And then I can continue on with my melody. For the bass, all you have to do is take the bass note of your chords. So I played C, F, and then C, G. So in my bass, those are the notes I can play. So I'll go down to my bass. I'll start recording. All right, and then I can go into my MIDI editor and fix it. I did wrong. I missed the first note, so I'm going to hit Option and drag up, and then I will quantize this. Event, quantize operation. I have a quarter note still, so here we go. And that will be my first bar, and then I can take it from there. So. And go on from that. And then, so this would be like a verse, and then your chorus, maybe do like, start on the 4, so start with F, and then go 1, 5, or something like that. Switch it up, make an A and B section for it to keep it interesting. Does that make sense? That was a pretty poor demonstration, but hopefully you guys got the gist of it. Famin, does that help answer your question between harmony and melody? Okay, cool. All right, so let's, for the rest of the class, everybody get started, and then we can answer questions on if we have any hiccups.
How would you create the click track? I forgot that.
You go to up to track, and then down to create click track.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And feel free to, not do a conventional recording. Just make sure that you have three tracks going on and at the right time. Samantha.
For the bass track, does it just have like, can I record like a proper bass line, or do you also want like the bass note?
No, and do whatever you want to do.
Okay, thank you.
How do you add or delete tracks again?
You right click. So if you go to yeah. If you go to click on the track and then hit Control and then down to delete. And then to add a track, you would go Shift Command N, or you can go up to track, and then down to new. Cal, did you email me your Gmail? So I can add you to the Google Classroom. Okay. And I just put some links to some plugins that are free in the Google chat that you can download, and then you can add to your instrument choices. And if anybody finds any plugins that are free, feel free to share with everybody.